We'll be starting out this morning at 9:30 with chanting the Shin Shin Ming. And if you look inside your chant book, you'll see it inside there. And we encourage you to join us in the chant. It's just a whole different experience to chant along versus just listening to it.
The great way is not difficult for those not attached to preferences. When neither love nor hate arises, all is clear and undisguised, separate by the smallest amount, however, and you are as far from it as heaven is from earth. If you wish to know the truth, then hold on to no opinions for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. When the fundamental nature of thing is not recognized, the mind's essential peace is disturbed to no avail. The way is perfect, as vast space is perfect, where nothing is lacking and nothing is in excess. Indeed, it is due to our grasping and rejecting that we do not know the true nature of things, live neither in the entanglements of outer things, nor in the ideas or feelings of emptiness. Be serene and at one with things, and erroneous views will disappear by themselves. When you try to stop activity to achieve quietude, your very effort fills you with activity. So as long as you remain attached to one extreme or another, you will never know oneness. Those who do not live in the single way cannot be free in either activity or quietude, in assertion or denial. Deny the reality of things and you miss their reality. Assert the emptiness of things and you miss their reality. The more you talk and think about it, the further you wander from the truth. So cease attachment to talking and thinking, and there is nothing you will not be able to know. To return to the root is to find the essence, but to pursue appearances or enlightenment is to miss the source. To awaken, even for a moment, is to go beyond appearance and emptiness. Changes that seem to occur in the empty world we make only real because of our ignorance. Do not seek for the truth, only cease to cherish opinions. Do not remain in a dualistic state. Avoid such easy habits carefully. If you attach even to a trace of this or that, right and wrong, the mind essence will be lost in confusion. Although all dualities arise from the one, do not be attached even to ideas of this one. When the mind exists undisturbed in the way, there is no objection to anything in the world. And when there is no objection to anything, things cease to be in the old way. When no discriminating attachment arises, the old mind ceases to exist. Let go of things as separate existences, and mind too vanishes. Likewise, when the thinking subject vanishes, so too do the objects created by mind. The arising of other gives rise to self. Giving rise to self generates other. Know these seeming two as facets of the one fundamental reality. In this emptiness, there are two,
really one,
and each contains all phenomena. If not comparing nor attaching to refined and vulgar, you will not fall into judgment and opinion. The great way is embracing and spacious. To live in it is neither easy nor difficult. Those who rely on limited views are fearful and irresolute. The faster they hurry, the slower they go. To have a narrow mind and to be attached to getting enlightenment is to lose one's center and go astray. When one is free from attachment, all things are as they are, and there is neither coming nor going. When in harmony with the nature of things, your own fundamental nature, you will walk freely and undisturbed. However, when mind is in bondage, the truth is hidden and everything is murky and unclear, and the burdensome practice of judging brings annoyance and weariness. What benefit can be derived from attachments to distinction and separations? If you wish to move in the one way, do not dislike the worlds of senses and ideas. Indeed, to embrace them fully is identical with true enlightenment. The wise person attaches to no goals, but the foolish person fetters himself or herself. There is one Dharma without differentiation. Distinctions arise from the clinging needs of the ignorant. To seek mind with discriminating mind is the greatest of mistakes. Rest and unrest derive from illusion. With enlightenment, attachment to liking and disliking ceases. All dualities come from ignorant inference. They are like dreams, phantoms, hallucinations. It is foolish to try and grasp them. Gain and loss, right and wrong, finally abandon all such thoughts at once. If the eye never sleeps, all dreams will naturally cease. If the mind makes no discriminations, the 10,000 things are as they are, of single essence. To realize the mystery of this one essence is to be released from all entanglements. When all things are seen without differentiation, the one self-essence is everywhere revealed. No comparisons or analogies are possible in this causeless, relationless state of just the one. When movement stops, there is no movement, and when no movement, there is no stopping. When such dualities cease to exist, oneness itself cannot exist. To this ultimate state, no law or description applies. For the realized mind, at one with the way, all self-centered striving ceases. Doubts and irresolutions vanish, and the truth is confirmed in you. With a single stroke, you are freed from bondage. Nothing clings to you, and you hold to nothing. All is empty, clear, self-illuminating, with no need to exert the mind. Here, thinking, feeling, understanding, and imagination are of no value. In this world, as it really is, there is neither self nor other than self. How to know this reality directly is possible only through practicing non-duality. When you live in this non-separation, all things manifest the one, and nothing is excluded. Whoever comes to enlightenment, no matter when or where, realizes personally this fundamental source. This Dharma truth has nothing to do with big or small, with time and space. Here a single thought is as 10,000 years. not here, not there, but everywhere, always right before your eyes. Infinitely large and infinitely small, no difference, for definitions are irrelevant, and no boundaries can be discerned. So likewise with existence and non-existence. Don't waste your time in arguments and discussion attempting to grasp the ungraspable. Each thing reveals the one manifests as all things. To live in this realization is not to worry about perfection or non-perfection. To put your trust in the heart-mind is to live without separating, and in this non-duality you are one with your life source. Words, words, the way is beyond language, for in it there is no yesterday, no tomorrow, no today.
We will resume noble silence until 10 o'clock. At this time, I want to invite our incense lighters to come forward. And then inside the chant book, there is the incense offering prayer. And I invite you to follow along. In gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding, slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Good morning. Like to see you all here today. My name is Kunga Nyima. I'm one of the Dharma teachers here at the temple. If you're new here, welcome. We have a few courtesy announcements. If you have children, we do have a space downstairs where you can take them if they become bored or restless. There's also a water fountain downstairs, bathrooms downstairs. There's also bathrooms through that curtain on your right there. And if you need to get up during the service because you're uncomfortable or you need to use the restroom, please don't walk directly in front of the dais. Just walk across the back aisle and around. We invite you to join us in the chants, and we will tell you where they are in the chant book. And when you're doing the chants, just try to be mindful of your neighbors. Try and chant in a loud voice, but not so loud that you can't hear your neighbors, so you can be in sync with them. And in general, we're just trying to create a joyful chant. At this time, why don't we all stand and we'll silently greet each other with bows. And then please remain standing. We'll be chanting our first chant in the chant book, page 7. Repeat vows. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, and content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. At page 8 is our next chant, the Heart Sutra. We'll begin by chanting the title. Dharma, Prajna, Paramita, Hridaya, Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion, from the deep practice of prajna, Paramita, received the emptiness of all 5 skandhas, and delivered all beings from their suffering.
O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, and emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharma, the radiant, fearless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Dhamma prajna paramita hridaya sutra.
Nice to have you all here this morning on this snowy day. I was so happy yesterday when it got sunny. And I read in the forecast we weren't going to have any snow here today because I have to drive up here from St. Joe, Michigan. And, we had a lot of bad weather up until yesterday. So it was so nice that things cleared up for us. So the title of my talk today is How to Drink a Glass of Poisoned Water. And it's going to take me a little bit to get to that. It's going to be a little bit of build up to that. This month, we are starting the Bodhisattva class. They actually met on the first Saturday of this month. The Bodhisattva training and the preceptor training are two of the main trainings that we offer for the Sangha as a way to build your practice. We can think of the preceptor class as the foundational class, and then the Bodhisattva class builds on that. This idea of sort of developing our training in Buddhism with this kind of two-stage approach is a pretty traditional way of doing it. Traditionally, it's called the Hinayana and the Mahayana. So I'll start with the Mahayana. So this temple is teaching the heart side mindfulness school of Mahayana Buddhism. That's the kind of teachings that we provide. The Mahayana is made up of two words. Maha is great. Like in our Heart Sutra we just chanted together, it says the Maha Prajna Hridaya Sutra. So Maha is great, Prajna is wisdom, Hridaya is heart. So the whole thing together is the great wisdom heart, or great heart of wisdom teaching. So the yana part of Mahayana is vehicle. So it means great vehicle. So the idea there is that it's sharing your spirituality, your idea that you want to reduce suffering in your life, and then breaking that into a big picture. You basically want everyone to have less suffering in their life. The Hinayana, in the way I'm bringing it for this talk, is I'm translating it as like personal or individual. So the idea is you start with yourself, trying to reduce your own suffering. And as you kind of develop along the path, you kind of widen your scope, so you try and bring that learning and that compassion you've learned and brought to yourself, you try to bring that out to everyone else. So at the temple here, we try and help build that Hinayana foundation in a variety of ways. We have our services, every Sunday. We have a class called the Foundation of Buddhism class. We have Introduction to Meditation classes, and then we have the Preceptor class. So the Preceptor class is really a foundational class. We just finished that class in December. It started in September, basically. It's a 3-month-long class. The preceptors come to the temple for every service. They come early. They help us set up. They have a meeting before the temple service, and then twice a month they have a meeting afterwards. They're kind of developing their practice. They're journaling every day, and the teachers are commenting on their journals. We give them several textbooks to read, The Heart of Buddhist Teachings by Thich Nhat Hanh, and also the Dhammapada, so that they can kind of build their knowledge of Buddhism. And a strong portion of that is the graduation ceremony, where they actually receive the 5 precepts. Okay, and the 5 precepts are the precepts of not harming, to abstain from harming, to abstain from lying or stealing, I guess is the next one, to abstain from stealing, to abstain from sexual misconduct, to abstain from lying, and then the last one, to abstain from intoxicants. Okay. So the idea with the precepts is that we're looking at the things that we do in our daily life, and we've sort of selected out these ones that can create problems for our practice because they create suffering for us and difficulties. And we try and focus on them and see how we might be able to live our lives within the precept. How can we live a life that creates less suffering for others? How can we live a life in which we're not stealing from others, either property or time or emotions, whatever that might be? We use Thich Nhat Hanh's guides to the precepts, which are pretty extensive. And they take these things much further than we would, take from the simple, like, do not steal, becomes very deeper teaching than that. So, and the goal here is to build a strong foundation for your practice. If you're not engaging in the negative activities identified by the precepts, then you have more time just to kind of develop your spiritual path. Another way you can think about this is just in relating to the Four Noble Truths, which is the main foundational teaching, I guess, of Buddhism. So the four truths are the truth of suffering. Suffering is part of life. The truth that this suffering, what is causing this suffering, this desire for things to be different. The third is that this suffering can be lessened, or there's a cessation of suffering. We can find an end to suffering. And then the fourth truth is just through practice, through the Eightfold Path, shows us a way to eliminate or reduce suffering in our life, or at least make suffering something that we can deal with more equanimity. So if we think about the precepts, the 5 precepts are a really nice way to make these ideas of suffering really concrete. Okay, the first precept is to do not harm others. Okay, so the harm is caused, harming others causes suffering. Okay, so when we don't cause this harm to others, we cause less suffering. The second one, do not cause harm to ourselves or others through stealing. Do not cause harm to ourselves or others through sexual misconduct. Fourth one is do not cause harm to ourselves or others through stealing or through lying. And then the fifth one is through intoxication. So each one of these, we're identifying what causes the suffering, what is the action that actually causes the suffering, and we're trying to reduce that action by abstaining from it, or changing the way we do that habit, that may be causing our suffering. So the preceptor class, like I said, in the fall, we'll have that again next fall. And anyone who hasn't taken that class, we invite you to participate in it. One of the nice things about that class is after you finish it, you receive a Dharma name. So you based on your studies and the feedback that you give to the Dharma teachers, they'll come up with a Sanskrit name for you to kind of help inspire your practice. So after the preceptor class comes the Bodhisattva class. Okay? So before I start talking about the Bodhisattva class, I want to talk about this idea of 5 families of the Buddha. So this, I noticed in my talk I hadn't written where this had come from, and then Gaji Su asked me today, like, oh, what sutra does that come from? So this comes from the Jewel Ornament Liberation Sutra, which is a Tibetan sutra written by Gampopa at the request of Milarepa, Tibetan Buddhist in like the 14th century, I think. That's right. Do you think that sounds right? 14th century? When it was written, do you know? So I'm not. So about that. So it's thousands of years old. Anyways, this sutra introduces this idea of 5 families of the Buddha, which is another way to understand our practice. And so these are, they're called 5 families of the Buddha because all of us have Buddha nature. Okay, and that nature might be more or less evident based on our activities and our thoughts in life. We're kind of like maybe don't realize it there, and maybe the more we participate in actions that cause ourselves and others suffering, the more we're kind of hiding that Buddha nature. And the more that we're, at least in the Buddhist point of view, the more we're working in ways to relieve the suffering for ourselves and others, we're kind of revealing that Buddha nature. Okay. So everyone has this innate Buddha nature. So that's why it's called the 5 families of the Buddha. But the families refer to how much this nature is being revealed. Okay, so the first family is the disconnected family. Okay, so this is the family that basically not aware, not motivated to alleviate suffering in their life, and maybe actively engaged in causing suffering, just unaware that there may be another way to participate in life. One of the things I wanted to do in my talk today was kind of talk a little bit about my own spiritual journey. This is when Shinkyu gave his talk. he kind of did a similar thing. He kind of talked about his own personal religious path as a way to kind of share the information. And I thought that was a really good idea. So I know that I was in this disconnected family when I was in my high school years and my early college years. I was pretty much breaking all the precepts. I was abusing alcohol. I wasn't acting sexually responsible. I was, lie to get what I wanted. I remember specifically stealing things. Maybe at parties, I would steal someone else's alcohol. But I'm sure I was violating all the precepts. And I had no concept that was even, an issue. I think, the alcohol was probably the primary issue. And once you become intoxicated, you're easier for you to violate all the other issues. So basically, I've been acting like a jerk. That's a simple way to talk about it, through recklessness in my behavior. And in that, when I was in that spot, in that disconnected, participating in that disconnected family, if you would have come to me and told me about Buddhism or asked me to change the way I was acting, I would have just said, forget it. I had no clue that I was even acting in a way that was inappropriate. So the second type of family is called the indefinite family. Now, this is a family where the Buddha nature is not quite so hidden, okay? The teachings say that these people have already discovered the Buddhist teachings through centers, books, teachers, or friends, and it's just waiting for the right causes and conditions to kind of make that active in their life. When I was first married, my sister-in-law was a Buddhist. She was going to Thich Nhat Hanh retreats. And she was telling us about this experience, and it was really interesting. And we would talk about it with her. I think we borrowed some tapes from her. But there was a lot going on in my life at that time. My wife and I just got married. We were just having a child. I was, trying to get settled in my career. And it was just not the right time to delve into that spiritual practice. We had a spiritual practice at that time. My wife was Catholic, and I was attending church with her. So, nothing really happened with me at that time. Even though I knew about Buddhism and had a little bit more interest in it. The third family, which I sort of entered in my mid 30s or my early 30s, is called the hearer family. And this is where you're actually actively engaged and you're participating in your Buddhist practice. I guess everyone here is kind of in the hearer family, right? You've actually come here to the temple, you've made the time commitment on a Sunday morning, you're interested in participating in what's going on here. So for me, it took some pretty severe causes and conditions for me really to jump into that part of the practice. My mother received a cancer diagnosis and would end up dying in 6 months. I myself was diagnosed with a heart issue, and I need to have open heart surgery. And these things coming together at the same time just made me realize how fragile our human life was, and that I really needed to focus a little bit more on my spirituality and build that part of my life. So another way to think about these 5 families of the Buddha is there's an image of a glass of water. So the idea is that the disconnected family is like a glass of very muddy water, maybe like poisonous water. You can't really do anything with it. You just got to set it aside, leave it alone. Maybe if it settles for a while, you'll be able to do something. And myself, when I was in my late high school, early college years and just partying all the time, I was like that muddy water. I really just needed to be left alone to settle out, before causes and conditions were going to be right for me to really change my ways. Okay. So that's the disconnected family. The indefinite family is like a glass of water that's a little muddy, but you could drink it under the right causes and conditions. Maybe if you purified it or you boiled it, then it would be ready to drink. So those people who are coming to Buddhist, learning about Buddhism, but they're just waiting for the right thing in their life to happen where they have that opening really to dive into the practice. The third family is the hearer family, is like just like a glass of clear water you can just drink, right? So when I come here to temple service, it's like drinking a glass of that clear water, just refreshing and beneficial. Yeah? Now, the fourth family is called the solitary realizer family. And this family, they have a glass of water that's like purified water, like vitamin water, so it drinks it and maybe makes them feel a little bit better than normal. But the story with this family is they don't really want to share that water with anyone. Okay? The fifth family is the Mahayana family. That's the family of this temple. And the story goes that this time the glass of water is medicine, actually. And we can share that glass with other people to help relieve them of their suffering. Yeah. So let me go back then a little bit to what the solitary realizer family. So this one's a little bit more challenging, I think, to talk about. So I just use my own example. So after I've been practicing for a certain number of years, I met up with a group in Kalamazoo, a Shambhala Buddhist group, and I took my refuge vows there, got my Buddhist name, and I started a meditation group in St. Joe, Michigan. We would meet, every week. We met for about 10 years. And I was doing this practice there, enjoying it. I think one of the thoughts in my head was, oh, this is great. Wouldn't it be great if I could just quit my job and go off to the forest someplace and meditate? But, that wasn't going to happen. I was married. I had to, bring an income to support the house. I had 2 daughters. But that was sort of back in my head. My practice was basically going to this group every week and then secretly thinking about, boy, wouldn't it be great? I could really practice if I just went to the woods or the forest or a cave. That's what the Buddhist tells you should do. So this is like the primary barrier at this level of practice. This idea that you need to go someplace isolated, someplace away from everyday life in order to practice. Actually, the practice should be your everyday life. That's the mindset you need to have. So it took me kind of a while to realize that. And I don't think I actually fully realized that till I actually became associated with the temple. I was working with my group there in St. Joe for 10 years, and we had to stop meeting because of the pandemic, and all of a sudden that inability to kind of just engage in my habitual behaviors, actions, really started to kind of push me to think about how I might deepen my practice. That's when I discovered the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple online. I reached out to one of the teachers here, Amko. I did my preceptor training here. I already had a Buddhist name, and I already knew a lot about the precept, but I just wanted to just like engage with everything at the temple. So I did the preceptor trainings here. I did Bodhisattva trainings here. I did the Dharma teacher intern trainings here. I think this is going on my 3rd year here. And it's really felt good. As I was saying before, the whole idea with the fifth family, the Mahayana family, is you're trying to turn that glass of water into medicine. So that not only is it going to be healthy to you, you're going to be able to share it with other beings, and help relieve their suffering as well. One of the core ideas with Mahayana is that it's impossible for us to become enlightened by ourselves, because we are interconnected at the core level with everyone else. So the only way for us to truly be enlightened is for us to bring along everyone else. Just like everyone else's suffering is part of our suffering. That's the only way we could eliminate is suffering, is to work on the suffering for everyone. So there's this wonderful, the great vehicle means everyone is included. Seems like an aspiration, that's hard to live out in one lifetime, but that's all right. Traditionally in Buddhism, we have multiple lifetimes to do that. So you don't have to do it all at once. Another way to think about this 5 Buddhist family is to think about like constructing a house. So the disconnected stage is kind of like you're living in an apartment just filled with all your own stuff. It's got you decorate it however you want. No one else has any input. It's just all feeding your own personal ego and whatever is important to you. But at some stage, the indefinite stage, you start to look around and notice other people have, maybe different types of houses. They've got other people living with them. They're starting families. And you're like, well, maybe there's something in those relationships that I would like to have. So you maybe start to look out for different spiritual paths. The here level is where you actually maybe identify your spiritual neighborhood. This is the religion that I want to pursue. You start to pour a foundation for your home, put up the walls based on the teachings, put on the roof, maybe add, nice little things there. As you develop your practice, you might think, well, I'll just put a little waterfall in my backyard, which is what I did. And, I'll have a nice little shrine in the living room, and I really don't need to go outside and deal with the rest of the world at all. I can have my own little personal nirvana here in my house. So that's like the solitary realizer, you don't really want to share it. But at some point, something happens. Maybe there's a flood in your neighborhood, maybe there's a pandemic, a big winter storm, and you realize that you can go out and you can help other people. You don't have to do it all just for yourself, and there's a benefit to that. So that's the Mahayana teachings. So these, even though I've introduced these like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's just the concept. You could be kind of going through these at different parts of your life. You might be feeling like you're Mahayana today, and maybe tomorrow morning, you wake up and you feel really Hinayana, like you need to focus on yourself. You might wake up in the morning and you're really good. You're making coffee and breakfast for everyone, shoveling people's driveway. Then you go to work, something happens, somebody tells you did something wrong, or somebody makes you angry. And when you come home, you're like completely disconnected. You're yelling at people, slamming doors, completely, full of poison water. Okay. So I got to end this talk by telling you how to drink the poison water, right? So you're completely disconnected. What should you do? Well, maybe you're feeling a lot of overwhelming like anger. Okay. So you don't need to share this anger or this muddy water, this poison water with anyone. Okay. The first thing you should do is just take your walking meditation or maybe your sitting meditation and sit with that feeling. Okay. You're going to sit there and just sort of examine it carefully and see how it settles out. Okay. You want to analyze the water mindfully or the emotions mindfully and determine what causes and conditions actually created it and what cause and condition might be necessary to clear things up. Okay. In the language of the Bodhisattva class, you might apply one of the paramitas or several of the paramitas to help you with. The paramitas are like these compassionate actions, generosity, patience, energy, meditation, wisdom, bringing these things to your practice, to your feelings, and trying to understand them in a bigger light. Okay? And through this process of meditating on your feelings, trying to understand them, look at them deeply, eventually they're going to kind of settle out. And then you can sort of figure out some skillful way to drink the water, or to maybe even transform the water into medicine you could kind of share with other people. I mean, I think a lot of times, that's what we're doing as Dharma teachers. We're trying to, take some experience from our life that was really troubling and trying to transform that or learn from that so that we can share it with you all in a way that's meaningful, and maybe you can adapt it to your own life. So the base idea is that all the challenges in our life are really the fuel for the fire. That's how we practice to become bodhisattvas. Anything that's challenging or disturbing, at the moment we might not like it, it's causing us suffering. But if we can take that experience and use our practice to transform it, that's how we develop our bodhicitta, our awakened heart. That's how we work towards relieving the suffering of others. Easy to say, hard to do, but that's why we have lots of practice. So at this time, I'd like to invite you all to take a comfortable position on your cushion. We're going to do some meditation. If you're tired of sitting, like you can't get comfortable sitting anymore, we do have some open chairs in the back for you to sit on. And there might be some new people here, so I do want to give a little bit of meditation instruction. So if you're sitting on a cushion, or even if you're sitting in a chair, try and sit with your back straight. You can cross your legs in front of you. If you're able to sit in the lotus position, that's great, but that takes some time. So just having them crossed loosely in front of you is fine. Bring your hands in to your stomach. Rest your right hand in your left hand, thumbs together. Pull your shoulder. And when you pull this in your stomach, it's going to kind of pull your shoulders back too. Try and visualize your spine being pulled straight. You can tuck your chin in a little bit. You can close your eyes. If you're feeling really restless, you can close your eyes. If you're feeling more like sleepy, you can kind of have them open, partially open, just kind of looking down at an angle in front of you. Put your tongue at the top of your mouth, behind your teeth. You can have your mouth open and closed. And if you're new to this, it's good to have something to concentrate your mind on. So what I want you to think about doing is just be aware of your in-breath and your out-breath. And if you want to add a level of, if you're feeling especially distracted, or you feel like it will be easier to do that if you got something else to do as well as just being aware of your breathing, breathe in and breathe out and count to yourself 1. And then do that up to 5 and then start over. You can do that, or you can just be aware of your breathing, come in and out. If you have a thought come up, that's okay. That's natural. That's what your mind does. So just try not to follow it. Just try to recognize it and then just go back to being aware of your breathing. And I will sound the bell here 3 times to start us, and then 3 times at the end. All right, we can have the lights back on. And this part of the service is an opportunity for us to share joys and concerns. So the reason we do this is an opportunity for us to engage in bodhicitta and experiencing the four immeasurables, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. So the idea is that loving kindness is this wish that ourselves and others shouldn't have suffering, or actually should be happy. And compassion is the idea that we want others to be relieved from suffering and ourselves to be relieved from suffering. Um, Sympathetic joy is our ability to share in the joy of others instead of feeling jealous about what they have. Um, and equanimity is this feeling that, you know, all people like ourselves are seeking happiness and to avoid suffering. Even those people that are difficult or challenging to us, they're really just trying to do those things. So if we can kind of remember that, we can maintain some equanimity, and even though someone else is causing us to suffer, maybe not put it back on them and cause them to suffer even worse. I like to think of it, you know, if people are causing you to suffer, it's because they are suffering so much that they can't even contain it. And so it's spilling out onto you as well. So something to keep in mind. So with the joys and concerns, it's an opportunity for you to share anything that is a joy or a concern in your life right now, so that we at the Sangha can empathize with you and share in that happiness or and have compassion for that suffering. So just raise your hand if you have something you'd like to share.
So because of severe trauma inflicted upon me when I was 2, my brain split into many parts, but I got them all fused back together again, and I'm very happy about it.
I'd like to share the joy of being among a Sangha that is here supporting one another, and learning how to enjoy and practice these teachings to bring them out into the world. I'd also like to express gratitude for a supportive family and supportive teachers who are constantly pointing the way on how to live a life with less suffering. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amanda. This is my second time coming here. Sorry, I just thought I should introduce myself. Anyway, so this weekend I took in 2 stray cats. They were feral. And it's a mama and her baby. And the mama warmed up really, really quickly. She loves people. But the baby was super, super hesitant around people. And this morning, for the first time, the baby laid on me in bed this morning. He doesn't let me pet him yet, but he feels safe enough to lie on me. So I think that's like a joy. It's so cool seeing him come out of his shell, because Mama's so affectionate and he really, really wants to be, but he's been feral for so long that he just doesn't. I don't know. And he came from a really bad environment too. There were like dogs that ate cats. They were living in a barn, like in the cold. It wasn't good. So I've only had him for a few days. So I think that it's awesome that he already feels that safe. So that's my joy.
Good morning, everyone. A concern and a couple joys. We had to say goodbye to our beloved dog, Juno, after a fight with cancer, but we had some time to grieve, and we were able to celebrate his life at Great Wolf Lodge about a week later, last weekend. So that was really cathartic for us. We had a great time. And also, we've enjoyed the snow. My son Parker and I have been able to go snowboarding the last few days at Cannonsburg, so that has been a real treat. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shane, or Gaji Su is my Dharma name. I have a couple of joys. One, my Bodhi tree finally started sprouting leaves. It just lost its last leaf a week ago, and I noticed it had like bugs in it, and I was really nervous that it was dying, but it looks like it's coming back. And I just started a Dream Teacher level 4 training yesterday or Friday. My job is working around my schedule so I can do that while still being able to work 40 hours. So I'm really grateful for my job and being able to do this training.
I have a concern and a joy, I guess. I have stage 4 cancer, but the chemo's working, so nothing's progressing in the last 5 months or so. So it's there, but it's not doing anything. So it's it's joy. So, but I'm a little scattered too. So.
I want to share a concern. I'm a hospice social worker, and we have a really difficult patient right now who a younger patient for us, early 70s, and has a condition that maybe could be treated, but they decided, that it wasn't worth it anymore, so they just stopped eating like 2 weeks ago, and then this last week they stopped taking all their pain medicines, won't let us give them any pain. They're having a lot of pain, won't take fluids, and it's just really difficult for the staff. They don't want to. We have a hospice center where the person's being cared for, and they don't. They're in terrible pain, so you can hardly move them. And when you move them, it causes them more pain. They don't want to be moved, but people got to be changed. They're incontinent, so it's really hard on the staff there to know that we can provide relief, but the person themselves just won't accept it. So just thinking about that person, staff. All right.
We have 2 joys and concerns. One is from Upaya Jeff Philo. He says, I am grateful to be recovering from orthopedic surgery and for the great opportunity to practice. And then the other one is from Brian Buchan. I am grateful to return to practice and begin a journey of healing once again, and I am concerned for my recovery from a traumatic brain injury. I am thankful the Sangha continues to thrive in Grand Rapids and looking forward to a physical visit soon.
Right. If we don't have any more, we'll have a moment of silence to honor those joys and concerns. Right. Now time for some temple-related announcements. We have a board meeting today, 11:30. So anyone who has taken precepts at the temple is welcome to be a member of the to show. If you have an interest in being a board, we invite you to come and observe one of the meetings and talk with people on the board, see what that experience is like, see if that might be something of interest to you. We have upcoming, so that's today at 11:30. We have a winter silent retreat coming up on next Saturday. That's from 8 to 5. We've actually ended the registration for that. But if you look online and you think you really want to come, just send me an email. On February 3rd, we're having an ordination ceremony for 2 of our teachers, Shin Q and Son Shin. They are both getting ordination as Soto Zen teachers. And that is on Saturday at 1 p.m. That'll be here at the temple. We have an upcoming intermediate meditation class on Saturday, February 24th from 9 to 12. And you can register for that online. We continue to have a Wednesday meditation group every Wednesday from 7 to 7:45. That's also online. You can join right through the website. You don't need to register or anything for that. Just if you're available on that Wednesday, just log on. We also have a Dharma discussion group on Thursday mornings from 9:30 to 11 o'clock here at the temple. I believe they are currently reading a book from Thich Nhat Hanh, and they actually do the reading during the group. So you don't have to read in advance. You know, they'll be reading during the group and discussion, so there's not any preparation needed for that. We have Buddhist-based recovery groups, Mondays, 6:30 meditation, 7 p.m. meeting here at the temple. Wednesdays, 6:30 at the Alano Club. And Fridays, 10:05 meditation, 10:30 meeting here at the temple. And if we do have a severe weather like we had last week, we'll send out a special newsletter announcement letting you know. And, basically if area schools are closing, that might be a good sign that your temple might be closing also. We'd still have service though. It's just online on Zoom. So if, we'll never miss a Sunday service. You just have to join online if we do have weather. So, do we have any other announcements?
This Wednesday, the 24th, we are having GBSU come here for a visit, and I just wanted to extend an invitation to anyone who wants to help me or to come in and serve. It will be at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 24th.
So in February, I believe it's Sunday, February 11th, we celebrate Parinirvana Day or Nirvana Day. And we will be having a potluck that Sunday. So I just wanted to get the word out early. So that way, if you'd like to come, maybe you can bring a vegan dish to share and just include all of the ingredients on that dish when you bring it. So that way anybody who has allergies might be able to avoid it. But it's going to be a nice little celebration. So please, I encourage you to come. That's Sunday, February 11th, I believe.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Ellen. Dana means generosity, and that's one of the fuels that keeps this train running. Generosity, of course, can come in all manner of ways. The first one I always think about is time. That's what you're doing today. You're sitting on your cushion or your chair. You're here sharing your time with us, and we love it. Also time to maybe, if you ever want to volunteer for the tech support team, they can always use your help. Greeters at the door, people helping to set up and tear down after our festivities in the lower level, always acceptable. There's also materials. I used to give the paper towel and tea bag speech every time I did this, but then we got a lot of tea bags and a whole lot of toilet paper. So if you would like to know what we are in need of, Nikki is your gal over there. Check with her and she'll let you know what if the coffers are empty. Also, of course, there's a financial support. Your donations are readily acceptable. We have Dana boxes on either end of the hall. Each box has a QR code, which will take you directly to I was going to say Pet Pal, which is one of our favorite rescues down in Florida. PayPal. Last week I screwed it up on saying something about the Zoom. So anyway, each box does have a QR code. It takes you to PayPal, which you can make a one-time donation. You can set it up monthly. You can change it however you want. Those boxes will take check or cash. You can also go directly to our website, zengr.org, and there is a drop-down menu will take you also directly to PayPal. And if you are watching today on YouTube, there's also a drop-down menu there. Will also take you to PetPal. God darn it. My best friend in Florida is going to be so happy that I plugged her rescue twice. So anyway, there you go. Bye.
All right, so I just wanted to make a few announcements before we do our closing gathas. After we do our final gathas and greetings to each other, just before you leave, make sure your cushion is nice and orderly. The zafu with the small round cushion is in the center of the larger rectangle, and it kind of looks lined up with everything else, so everything looks straight and tidy. Put your chants back into the front of the chant book on the front page. And along with the incense offering, and there will be someone who is collecting them. Just hand them to that person. And if you would like to join us downstairs for tea, there's a brief, we'll have available to join us down there till 11:30, and then we have a meeting down there, but you're welcome to do that as well. So at this time, I invite you to stand, and on page 9 of the chant book is the closing gathas.
Ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain.
And now I'd like to invite inside us on the center. Thank you very much for attending. Please go downstairs. Thank you.